Hey, Aubrey, how's everything going?
I'm great, Lindsay. I'm wondering, is there anything you're looking forward to?
Oh my gosh, yes, I couldn't be more excited about my upcoming weekend. I'm going to go to an ugly sweater party, hosting one, and it'll be great.
Nice. Oh, so fun. I couldn't be more excited for my kids walking home from school on their own. This is huge. I always have to walk
Oh,
them to school and it's tricky or pick them up drive and they're finally
huh?
old enough. It's very close, but still kind of scary to have kids walk home
Right,
alone. So
right.
we're right
That's
there. We're right on the
amazing.
cusp. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're on your way to freedom.
Yes.
Woohoo.
I know. I
That's
can't wait.
amazing. That's so great. That's so great. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to get into today's topic. But first, guys, hit that follow button if you love All Ears English. Our motto here is connection, not perfection. Right, Aubrey? We focus on human
Yes.
connection through language. So hit follow if you love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you're not following, you are missing amazing episodes. Scroll up if you missed 2109.
Yeah.
Fortune 100 speaker Jessica Kriegel gave us 3 culture questions to ask in a job interview. That was a
Mhm.
fantastic interview. If you're not
Yeah.
hitting follow, there are 4 episodes every week. You might be missing some of them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we opened today asking each other questions, right, about what we couldn't be more excited about. What are we getting into today?
Yes, this chunk couldn't be more is used all the time by native speakers to emphasize. And we also use couldn't be less to emphasize. We got a question about this that's really interesting, but it's
Yeah.
such a great phrase for building connection in English to share what you're super excited about in such a native, natural way to say, I couldn't be more excited.
Excellent. And we're going to start off today with a question from Zach from Taiwan. Shall I go ahead and read the question, Aubrey?
Yes. Yes.
All right. This is a longtime listener, and I love hearing from our longtime
I
listeners.
know. Me too.
Zach says, I've listened to your show for 4 years. That is amazing. I can remember the first time I listened. I only understood 50 to 60%. Nowadays, my listening skill has improved. I can understand 80 to 90%. That is insane,
That's
Aubrey. So good.
amazing.
So good.
Yes.
I really appreciate your great work. And I also believe in connection, not perfection. Yay. Yeah, we're on the same page in that case, Zach. So I do recommend to my friends who want to learn English to listen to the All Ears English podcast. Awesome. Aubrey, could you read Zach's question for me?
Yes, absolutely. Thank
Okay.
you, Zach, for all of this. Is making our day to read this.
Yeah, it
Amazing.
really
And I love that
is.
you're sharing the podcast with friends who are learning English.
Yes.
It's awesome. So
Yes.
then Zach said, recently I read an article. There's a phrase, couldn't care less. It confused
Mhm.
me because it has 2 negative words, couldn't and less. From my
Right.
instinct, 2 negative words equal a positive word. However, couldn't care less actually means couldn't care, not could care. Could you help me
Right.
figure out why this phrase needs to add less after couldn't care and it still keeps the negative meaning? Is there any other grammar like this? Oh, Zach, amazing question. I love this.
Amazing. Amazing question. And Zach must be really listening to a lot of native English on top of all ears English because we do use this a ton, don't we?
Yep, absolutely. And it's a really
Yeah.
good question. This can be very confusing. The tricky thing here to know is that less isn't considered a negative. There are certain
Mm,
negative words, just like Zach is sharing, that if you
okay.
have 2 of them in a sentence, it creates what's called a double negative, right? And
Mhm.
sort of 2 negatives equal a positive. So we'll first give you a couple examples to make sure you're clear about what Zach's referring to.
Okay. So, for example, shall I read these examples here, Aubrey?
Yeah,
Go
let's do
for
it.
it. Okay. All right. So, this is a double negative that feels very much like nails on chalkboard to us, right?
Yes.
So, I almost can't even say it, right? Nobody did nothing. Ugh, I shudder.
Right. Yes, and really that means somebody did something because you have nobody and nothing creates this double negative. Native English speakers do make mistakes with double negatives sometimes. Children, especially as children are
Children do.
figuring out English, you'll hear this all the time. But what's
Oh,
tricky is knowing that less isn't a negative, right? Negatives are
yeah.
no, not neither, never, no
Right.
one, nobody, none, nor, nothing, nowhere. There is quite a list. So I totally understand how Zach
Yes.
thought, okay, less sounds like a negative,
Right.
but it's sort of a finite list. And then there are a lot of words that seem like they might create a negative that don't.
Right. Less feels more like a degree. How much of something are we talking about?
Exactly. That's
right?
right, it's an
Yeah.
adjective, right? It's a
Mhm.
comparative of little,
Mm,
and the superlative is least. So it just
love it.
means smaller in size or degree. So that's what's really the important takeaway just for the grammar here is less in a
Mhm.
sentence isn't a negative. It doesn't create that double negative. It's just showing, like you said, Lindsay, the degree that there's less of something.
Okay, so we're saying to Zach and our listeners, it is okay to say I couldn't care less. It doesn't you're not creating a double negative there. Totally fine and super common. Yeah?
Exactly. Yes, you're going to hear it all the time. So, we're going to share a couple examples with this amazing phrase. And another one that's really related because we use this with lots of different verbs, not just care. So,
Right.
this will be really nice. Oh, it's such a good connection tool to be able to
Oh,
use this to emphasize.
it's so true. I mean, sometimes when you really don't care, you really don't care, right?
Yeah,
And you need a way to say that. And you don't want to say I don't care. You want to say I really don't care. That's
exactly.
connection because passion is connection in a way. It shows people who we really are.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. This phrase allows you to be a little more passionate about how much you don't care or how much you feel something. So, here are a
yeah.
couple examples. Couldn't care less means that you don't care at all, right? You
Yeah.
couldn't possibly care less about something. You care that little.
Like, for example, I'm sick. I couldn't care less about keeping my house clean right now. Oh, that is such a good example. When we get sick, that's why health becomes so important. And we realize it as soon as we get sick. Even just a
It's
common
true.
cold, like a simple cold or the flu, everything else drops out.
Absolutely. I know you have a little bit of a cold right now, Lindsay, right? Do you feel like cleaning
Yeah.
your house? Probably not.
Unfortunately, so I've actually got a little bit of an exception to that. I'm in a place where the cold is just a little annoying, but I can totally
Mm.
work. I'm good.
Oh,
But
that's
any
good.
any worse than this, I'd be on the couch and I wouldn't care about anything.
It
You
just
know?
saps your energy,
Yeah.
and then you're like, "I couldn't care less about getting
Yeah.
dressed, cleaning my house. Nope."
It's true. Things really
That's
go into
true.
perspective really quickly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and we wanna point out this can be rude or harsh in the same way that the phrase "I don't care" can be rude or harsh because
Yes.
it means the same thing, "I don't care." So if let's
Yes.
give a mini role play to
Okay.
show that
Okay.
we have to be a little careful with this phrase. I'll start us out,
Okay.
ready?
Yeah.
"I don't think that's what happened."
Well, I couldn't care less what you think. Ooh, harsh.
Right. It's very harsh, right? You're saying, "I don't care what you think." So if you're
Yes.
under the impression that this phrase sort of softens or lightens how rude or harsh
No.
that could be, that's not the case. It has the
No.
same,
Yes.
implication as "I don't care."
And it would be totally damaging at work. You absolutely wouldn't wanna use that at work, and you wouldn't wanna use it in your social life either. I mean, it's extreme, right? It's
Right.
extreme, so we save it for not for directly saying that to someone, but about things that we do or don't care about that wouldn't offend someone, wouldn't hurt someone, right,
Exactly.
Aubrey?
Yeah, so we
Mhm.
have to be a little careful. Definitely, you can share it about something you don't wanna do, something you don't feel like doing, sort of more playful, silly,
Yeah.
but yeah, you would wanna be careful
Yeah.
not to tell someone, "I don't care about you. I don't care about that about you." That's
Right.
unkind, right?
Yeah. I feel like we do have a second here just to mention this native phrase, how natives sometimes say it. We wanna mention that
Yes,
real
there
quick?
is a very common mistake that I know is a pet peeve for a lot of native English speakers, actually,
Oh,
that
is it? I
sometimes you'll
didn't know that.
hear native English speakers say, "I could care less." Instead of I
Right.
couldn't care less, and that it
Right.
might be partially because of what Zach was thinking, like, oh, they think maybe there's a double negative, or maybe they're just speaking very quickly, or they've also heard it incorrectly a lot because this is pretty common, right, Lindsay?
Yeah, yeah, and I do hear that a lot from native speakers. They're saying essentially exactly the same thing. They're saying, "I don't care," right? They're just
Exactly,
dropping
that's what they
couldn't.
mean. Yeah, but
Yeah,
if you actually
yeah.
think about the sentence, "I could care less" means,
It
I
means
do care, like, I could care
right.
less, so right?
Yeah, it
So it
does, so it
kind
doesn't
of
actually
gives you the opposite of what you really mean to say.
Right, so anytime you hear someone say, "I could care less," or "I couldn't care less," they're saying, "I don't care." Okay, guys? It's that
Exactly, that's
simple.
what they
Yeah.
mean.
Alright, I love it. So let's go into some, one other way that we use a similar construction. What is it, Aubrey?
Yes, we do this with lots of different verbs. So we'll give an example of couldn't be less. Maybe you'll say, I couldn't
Mm,
be less amused or interested. It means the same as I am not. I am not amused. I am not interested, but it's a really
okay.
fun way to emphasize.
Yeah, it just means there's no lower that you can go in terms of amusement than where
Exactly.
you're at right now. Right? That's
I
really
might
what
say
we're
this
saying.
about my children if they were misbehaving, say, "I
Right.
couldn't be less amused by their
Yeah.
behavior." And it means
Yeah.
the
It's
same as, "I am not amused." I do not think
right.
their behavior is funny,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
just a more interesting way to say that.
It's more interesting. Your level of amusement is on the floor, right? You hit the floor.
Yes.
Uh, so I couldn't be less amused by their behavior, right?
And then
That's what we're talking about.
one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite films, it's about
Mhm.
time, and this, woman loses her husband, her longtime partner, and she
Yeah.
says to her son when she sees him, she says, "I couldn't be less interested in a life without your father." And it's so
Yes.
touching and sweet, and
Aw.
again, just such an instead of saying, "I'm not interested in" it's a more almost poetic way
Mm.
to say that, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to put my finger on that movie. I feel like I've seen it and it was really
Ugh,
good, and now I
I
can't remember
love
who's
it.
in it, by the way? Who's in that movie? You
Rachel
remember?
McAdams is
Oh, I love
the
her.
female
Yes.
lead, and
Yes.
I should know the name of the actor who she's married to, he's British, he's
Okay.
amazing. You'll have to go
Okay.
back and watch it again. It's by the same director and writer as Love Actually, so
Oh,
sort of the same feel a little bit if you liked Love
okay.
Actually, but not a
Yeah.
Christmas film, but
Okay, I'll check it out.
beautiful.
I'll
I
check it
love
out
this
again.
movie.
Good stuff.
Mhm.
And then when we sometimes use this to clear up a misunderstanding and to emphasize something. For example, are we going to
Yeah,
show
let's
that in the
show in a
role
little
play here?
role play to show that. You start us out, Lindsay.
All right. So you're upset?
No, I couldn't be less upset. I'm actually thrilled. Right? We do this to clear up a misunderstanding. Lindsay thought I was upset about something instead of just saying, "No, I'm not upset." To
Yeah.
emphasize that, I'd say, "No, I couldn't be less upset." Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that means I'm the opposite of upset. I'm actually really happy about this.
Right. If you think about it too much, it's easy to get confused with this less thing,
Absolutely.
right? So it's
Yeah,
almost something you just have to kind of learn it as a chunk guys, as a way of speaking, and then understand what it means and just create your own phrases that you use a lot, right? So, for
exactly.
example, here are some examples of what we could put into our vocab, right? Have, right? Using the verb have. I couldn't have less time to get this done. Okay.
Yes, right, and you're emphasizing that you really don't have a lot of time, and just instead of saying, "I don't have enough time," you say, "I couldn't have less time today."
Yeah. Yes. Or this is a good one. Maybe you come back from a long day. What would you say?
Like, if you feel tired, you could
Yeah.
say, "I couldn't feel more tired right now." It means the exact same thing as, "I feel tired,"
Yes.
but it's
Yes.
just this fun native expression. We use this with lots of different verbs.
Good. Or now the next one would be show. So tell me about this one a little bit. Give me a little
Yeah, maybe you
context.
could say, "He couldn't show less interest," or, "He couldn't show less concern." So, this
Mhm.
is always going to be about someone with the emotions they're showing,
Are
through their
very
face or their
low.
eyes, because 'cause we're not talking about what they're saying, we're talking
Right.
about what they're showing.
So this means he doesn't look concerned at all, right? It couldn't be any
Exactly.
lower. Yeah, any less. Okay.
Yes,
Or
like maybe
looks up.
someone's at a play and they look
Mhm.
really bored, and you turn to your partner and say, "Wow,
Couldn't
he
look any
couldn't
less
show
interested.
less interest." It
Yeah.
just means, like, he seems really uninterested.
Right, right. Yeah, 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 not good. Or looks, appearances, right? And that's exactly the same thing. She couldn't look
Yes,
more bored, right? So she's
exactly.
extremely bored looking.
Yes, it's clear her appearance, it's clear that she's bored with whatever's
Yeah.
happening. This if you're in a meeting, you want to avoid this, right?
Right, right, right. And a
You're
little
on your
bonus here,
phone, clear on your face that you're bored.
or even if you're not on your phone, a good bonus for our listeners today, eyes are glazed over, right? You are
Oh,
looking
yes.
at the balls or you're looking at your team, but you're like, "Oh," you could tell there's nothing there. There's nothing behind the
That's true,
eyes.
you don't have to be looking at a phone, you can see it on a person's
Yeah.
face when they
Yeah, yeah.
couldn't look more bored.
Eyes are glazed over. Write that one down, guys, as a bonus today. That'll probably be in the iOS Android app, right? We like to highlight
Yes.
key vocabulary words in the app. Aubrey, do we have a takeaway today? Anything?
Yes, you guys, adding less like this to create these chunks is a great way to emphasize. As I'm sure you noticed as Lindsay and I chatted, the intonation changes. The intonation is important to make sure that your meaning is clear, but
Mhm.
practice these because it is a great way to connect to emphasize in this way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Good to be specific. Good to just don't get too tied up in analyzing each individual part of this phrase. That's where it gets confusing. It causes you to think too much. Just remember them as chunks, use them to be more precise and to be more interesting, right? You said in the episode a little more poetic. I love that.
Yeah, sometimes when one of these is used, it makes it sort of more beautiful and more meaningful what you're saying. So lots of different ways that we can use this to add less, clear up misunderstandings, speak a little more beautifully, or just to emphasize.
All right, good stuff, guys. Hit follow on the show, and we'll see you back here very soon. Aubrey, have a good day.
You too. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.